Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. Welcome to another What Else is Going On, aka We Go podcast episode. I'm your girl, your host Taria. We are getting ready to get into the Real Housewives of Potomac, season 10, episode 6, Tropic like it's hot. I enjoyed this episode. There's a part of me that wonders if I'm enjoying it because it's not so heavy and dark like Potomac has been, right? So we're glad to be out of that. But at the same time, feel like all we're doing is dropping secrets, or dropping a dime, dropping a dime, dropping a dime. Like everything is so rehearsed and pre planned to drop something. But I am still enjoying it. And again, I don't know if I'm enjoying it because it's so vastly different from what it was, the past few seasons. So I don't know. What do y'all think? Are y'all enjoying it? Do you think that if you are enjoying it, are you enjoying it purely because of what we're seeing or because it's so different? Or do you kind of feel like that a little bit too? And not trying to put Potomac down because listen, I love to celebrate and support me a black franchise. It ain't too many of us, right? That's why Atlanta, I can't let the grip go on my heart because hello, they look like us, right? But I just wonder, like, am I enjoying it again because it's not so dark as other seasons, or not dark, but not so heavy, maybe? It doesn't have a shadow, it seems like, over it. But at the same time, it's always dropping a bomb, dropping a bomb. I don't know, but I did enjoy this episode. So let's get into it. So we're picking up where they left off in the tiny sprinter. That sprinter was tiny. They was touching knees. They might as well have been on each other's laps. In her confessional, Stacy says, Kay hates me. And then she's like sipping on a drink. She's like, I don't know what it is, child, but she hates me. So back in the sprinter, Kay tells her, stop touching me. Y'all, she really trying to be my friend now. She really trying to be my friend. Giselle says, now Stacy is a toucher. Kay said, look, I'm ready to see horses and spend money. So Ashley says, girl, you going to share some of Greg's money? Kay says, absolutely not. But we know later she does. We get to the Preakness. They take a picture, grab a drink, and then go sit down. I know during Preakness time when you were driving in that area, because it's actually not far from where Jamal, the people that live in Baltimore probably know this, or the DMV area, but the Preakness is actually not that far from where Jamal's church used to be. Well, the church is still there, but of course he's passed in Atlanta, but it's not far, and we would have to go up that road. But let me tell you, people would be outside holding up signs, charging you so you could park in their yard. And when I was doing ride share on Sundays, because I used to, all the time on Sundays and Preakness, baby, we'd be dropping people off in the middle of the street, like, all right, be safe getting across the street. So Preakness is a big deal. So they take their picture, grab a drink, they all go sit down. Kay tells the lady she gonna give them $20 a piece, but you last. And I thought she was talking to either Stacy or Wendy. I'm not sure. I think it was Stacy. So Wendy says, "Who's last, me or Stacy?" Kay said, you ain't shake no behind for it. So Ashley, Giselle, they get up trying to shake all, and little tink tink Stacy got up trying to shake a tail feather. Child Stacy wasn't shaking nothing but shoulder blades, honey. So Wendy says to Giselle, so Kay is giving them all a 20 and then says, anybody got change so I can give Stacy some money. So clearly they've moved on a little bit, right? So she gives Stacy the 20 as well. So all the other ladies, except for Wendy and Giselle, go up to the board. So Wendy says to Giselle, bring my name up, and Angel will be talking about me, like basically going on about me. And then she brings up that Angel didn't graduate from Temple. I said, Lord, how did we get here? Did we miss something? How are we here from that? Giselle said, I need to check my sources because word on the street is it didn't happen. And I'm guessing she meant didn't happen as in Angel didn't graduate. So Wendy said, yeah, I heard something happen and she didn't graduate. So as Kay is giving the ladies a tutorial, I guess, on betting, Stacy comes and sits back down with Wendy and Giselle. Wendy asked, did you bet? She said, no. She took that money and put it and kept it. She kept that 20. So the ladies all go sit down and eat. And Ashley, there's a man, right before they sit down, there's a man that comes up to Ashley and is like, you're interesting, want to get to know you. Child was looking at that man. I said, you were not Ashley's type. Ashley seems like she has one criteria for you to be white. And then you could either be young or old, or maybe somewhere in the middle. But brother, you ain't Ashley's type. Okay, moving on. At the table, Stacy says Ashley wasn't even here 5 minutes and got a date. Stacy asked Ashley, was she still seeing Josh? She says, yeah, we're trying to figure it out. So Giselle was like, well, because basically Ashley was like, I'm single. And Giselle says, well, you're single until you're married. Do y'all believe that? Do y'all believe you're single until you're married? I guess, yeah, you know what? When you look at it, some people say no, but if you're filing taxes or other forms, it says single, married, divorced, widowed. So you could be in a 4-year relationship. But if you're not married, divorced, or widowed, you are single. So yeah, I guess you are technically single, but in a relationship. If we're going by what do y'all think? Anyway, like I said, Giselle said you single until you're married. Stacy asked Giselle if she got a boyfriend. Giselle said no. And Ashley was like, why you ask like that? Because the way Stacy asked, it did seem like it wasn't just from nowhere. So Stacy said, I never asked her about her romantic life before. I'm just asking. Giselle said, well, Angel said she got somebody for me. So Wendy was like, is he bald? And then they're like, is he dark skinned? And Angel says, he actually is. And they're like, because we know Giselle has a type. So they all start laughing. Ashley starts talking. And there's a certain voice that she does that irritates me. And if y'all catch it, it's right when she's getting ready to start some mess. She says, guys, so I can't even do it. Go back and her tone changes when you know she get ready, when she's innocently bringing up a conversation. I was annoyed. Or maybe because it's just Ashley. I'm gonna give her this. She's beautiful though. Okay. I give. I give. I don't just, I do give. So she says, look, um, basically, y'all was talking about me. You said I was rude to you because I called Giselle and asked her, told her I wanted her and Wendy to come hang out with me. They show a flashback of when I'm not Ashley, I'm sorry, when Giselle, Tia, Wendy, and Angel were out shopping. Ashley calls Giselle. Giselle, of course, has it on speaker, and because I think they're supposed to. And Ashley invites Wendy and Giselle over, and Tia's like, oh, well, that was rude. So Tia says it was tongue in cheek. Normally if you're not inviting the other person, you would maybe not invite them in front of the person you're inviting, right? Kay says, "What's tongue in cheek?" And Ashley was looking at her like, Kay said, "I want to know." I said, "You know what, baby girl? If you don't know, ask the questions." Exactly. So Kay says, so Tia says, it's not that serious or deep. It just rolled off my tongue. Kay says, like chin check, but not. Tia said, chin check is aggressive, tongue in cheek is not. So Ashley's like, but you shading me, and then saying it's tongue in cheek. Tia said, I said tongue in cheek was not shady. Keep up. I said, ooh. Wendy said, oh, keep up. Ashley says sometimes the people say tongue in cheek, it's inadvertently shady. I am keeping up. And she tried to do like a little voice. So Tia said, wait. So Tia said, look, Ashley, if I think you're rude today, I'll say, Ashley, I think you're rude. I apologize. I didn't mean it that way. We've already spoken about it. I don't know what you're struggling with. But when I tell you, I said, I'm going to start telling people when they are being stupid, I don't know what you're struggling with. I don't know what it is that you're struggling with. So Giselle says, this is no longer tongue in cheek. Ashley says, I'm not struggling with anything. And Tia says, Ashley, if there's a real offense, we can be offended. But if I've apologized, now, if you want to keep digging, go ahead and dig. But I'm not going to get dirty with you. I said, girl, they show Ashley, unless it was editing, Ashley was eating that food. I said, shut that mouth right on up. Then I feel like Tia took the moment to make it lighter, which was cute. She says, I do have an issue with you, though. Tia said, when I met Giselle, she said to me, the minute my friend Ashley meets you, she's going to fancy you. And there's nothing, not even a bum pinch, nothing. Stacy said to Ashley, do you fancy her? Ashley said, I think she's very pretty. And they all laughed. I said, that was a way to lighten that. That was really cute. So far, I like Tia. So they all start laughing, and Case starts saying, "Oh, oh, oh," like making noise. And we see Jazzy, and she brings a friend. I think Jazzy is so gorgeous. Jazzy brings a lot of energy. It's like, oh my God, my girls, my ladies, and I'm getting married. Like, but I was like, that could be, it's her. So, and she's excited. She's filming, right? She goes around the table, hugs everybody. She gets to Angel and gives her a hug. And Jazzy says, I don't officially know you yet. And Angel introduces herself and says, I hear you're a wag. Okay. Angel says, I hear you're a wag. Jazzy says, yes. So they're all talking about how happy they are to see her. Wendy said, all right, come on, I need the lowdown. What's going on with life? So Jazzy says, bride life is doing good. They're in counseling, her and Darius. They've closed the RSVP list. That's a weight off of her shoulder. Things are good. So it's time for some girl time with my girls. I'm so excited to be here filming with this camera in my face, but I'm acting natural. She didn't say all that, but that's what I was feeling. She's really pretty. I must say, all the ladies are so pretty. So Giselle said, so is Darius staying in Dallas? And Jazzy said, as of right now, yes. I still feel like I'm saying her name wrong. I feel like, should I be saying Jassy? And I'm saying Jazzy. I'm sorry, y'all. My brain, I don't know, it's just not sticking. But anyway, Angel leans over. Angel leans over and asks Jazzy, what position does Darius play? Jazzy said he's a linebacker. Wendy said, what position was, like she wanted to know what position Angel's husband was, but Angel was already in the midst of telling her he's a tackle and he started for 10 years. Wendy said, oop, not starter. I know that's right. Wendy picks up her little binoculars and says, and Tia says, Wendy, I'm going to confiscate those. Wendy said, he's a starter. Did y'all catch it? Wait, she said, you said he's a starter. Did y'all ain't catch it, but I caught it. Stacy said, I caught it. Jazzy says, Darius is on his 7th year. And Angel says, I'm happy for you, sis. Giselle said, Wendy, I think we should go outside and watch some more races. I said, okay. So the girls go outside and some of them get something to drink. They're watching the races. A couple of them won some things. Wendy says she won $5, child. I saw Brandon Scott, the mayor of Baltimore. Did y'all see him? For those of y'all that know who Brandon is, did y'all see him? If you go back and look, and there was a point where he looked like he was in the mix, like they literally showed his whole profile. I said, okay, Brandon. So Ashley asked Kay, is she okay with Jazzy? Because when Jazzy came over to the table, her body language changed. Kay said, I thought we were, but I heard some interesting things. Like she had a problem with me. So Ashley said, you heard she was talking about you in the streets and it got back to you? Kay said, yeah, somebody brought it back to me. So Kay said, Jazzy, come here. Kay is so Baltimore. And I love it when she's like not bringing the energy down like she did on the trip, which we'll get into later. But she said, she reminds me of my girlfriend. She said, one of my other girlfriends, she says, Jazzy, come here. She says, so Jazzy, I got word that you and Stacy had issues with me. And Stacy's like, what? Wendy said, who told you that? Kay said, you told me. Wendy stuttered for a minute and said, that they had issue? They're making me laugh, y'all. I'm taking the last where I can get them, okay? They're making me laugh. Kay said, you said that Jazzy and Stacy had an issue with me. So it was at that moment Wendy said, hold on, hold on, hold on. It's the First Lady of Maryland. Hold on, okay? Y'all, let's put a pause on this. So Wendy puts on her shoes. Her and Giselle go over and hug the First Lady. I'm pretty sure Giselle probably knows her because, Jamal was well known, in Baltimore. And she was with Jamal or whatever. So they go over and hug her, but the First Lady doesn't want to be on camera. They have a little arrow that says First Lady does not want to be on camera. Kay gets in her confessional and says, Wendy was bragging about being with the First Lady and we saw her for 2 seconds. I said, now I don't remember Wendy bragging. I remember Kay coming to Wendy with some energy on that bench saying, are we doing something? Are you doing something for Preakness? Because we can do it together. And Wendy saying, well, the First Lady asked me to host something. I wouldn't be surprised if once the cameras were off, Wendy was hanging out or a little bit more in communication with her. Either way, I don't see it as Wendy was bragging, but maybe y'all do. Y'all let me know. So, anyway, once that was over, we get back to the topic at hand, honey. So they're all sitting down. Giselle says, so what's going on? What's happening? Kay brought up again how she was told that Stacy and Jassy had an issue with her. She said, and I was very taken aback because I didn't know that Jassy and I'm gonna say Jassy and I had an issue. Jazzy said, I'm taken aback as well. I'm sticking to Jazzy. That's it. Because this is it's too much. It's too much. Wendy says, Jazzy, you and I were talking on the phone. We were talking about who's going to be at the NAACP Awards. And I said, do you know if Kay is coming? Which is interesting because why wouldn't, maybe I guess because they were talking and maybe Wendy knew that Jazzy and Kay were cool. She just said, is she coming? Right. But anyway, she said, I asked you if Kay was coming. And you said, I don't know. And then was like, like made a sound. So with that conversation, I said to Kay, she said, I said to you, pointing to Kay, it seems like something's there. And I said, I can see that. If I was on the phone with somebody and I was like, yo, if Kay is coming, and they were like, child, I don't know. Cause anyway, I'll be like, hold up, what was that? Because normally you just be like, oh, I don't know. I haven't talked to her. Right? That would be it. So I can see. And Wendy did say, she said, I had a conversation with Kiana and said it seemed like something was there. So Jazzy says, okay, seeming like something is there and having beef are two different things. Wendy's, you being messy. So Wendy said, I'm not being messy. In her confessional, Jazzy said Wendy was being messy. In her confessional, Kay said, Wendy told me she picked up on something. When people say they pick up on an issue, they don't just pick it up from nowhere. And I was shocked that considering Kay's been having an issue with Wendy, that she didn't immediately jump to the side of Jazzy and be like, yeah, Wendy's being messy. No, she believes Wendy. And it made me wonder, why do you believe Wendy? Do you believe Wendy because later on down the road when we find out that Kay has talked about Wendy to Jazzy, like, does Kay know Jazzy to be talking about the folks in the group? So she believes it. I don't know, right? Anyway, but so Kay says to Jazzy, we can do a lot of things, but what I don't do, I ain't got to lie or something like that. And Jazzy said, I know you're going through a lot with Greg. Look on Kiara's face. I felt like she wanted to knock some Mario coins or some Sonic coins out of somebody. Jazzy says, I don't want you to take it out on me. Kay said, don't speak on my man. I know you lie. Jazzy said, you're going through a lot. Kay said, no, you're going through a lot. You're marrying a man who had two kids on you. They show the flashback of last season when Jazzy was trying to explain the two kids that may or may not, they were here during the time of her relationship. So Stacy goes, stop. That's too low. We're not going to talk about children. I said, we are not talking. I wish y'all would stop that. That was not talking about the kids. It was simply stating a fact. Okay. Jazzy says, Jazzy said, I'm going to give you grace. Okay. Wendy said, okay. Kay said, she's the one going through something, marrying a man with two kids. Wendy was like, okay, we need to calm down. Giselle said, everybody walk away. Go. Look, everybody just separate. Jazzy says, Kay is in a rough spot. I would be mad too if all I got was a little condo and he didn't even pay for it. I was wondering, it looked like Kay heard that, but I'm wondering if Kay heard that in that moment. It looked like it did, but we know with editing, we don't. Did Jazzy say that when she was further away? And then because you see Kay kind of turn that way. We don't know. Child. So now Giselle, Tia, and Kay are standing around, and Tia says, is she coming on holiday with us? Giselle said, I haven't decided. I said, you decided. As soon as this fight happened, you decided right then. She coming. Kay said, it's a no for me. Please don't take me out of my element. I'm working hard. So Giselle laughs. So Angel says, bring Sharice. I like her. Wendy said, we're done for today. Stacy said, class is in the trash. Was it Stacy or was it Giselle? Now, when Angel said, bring Sharice, I like her, that can be interpreted two different ways, but I felt if I'm talking to one of y'all and we're having a conversation, right? And I just get into an argument with somebody, and then you tell me they might come on a trip, and I say, bring so and so, I like her. You could take that to mean, based on my energy with the other person, that meant bring her instead of. But I didn't say that, right? So we'll get into why we're talking about this later. In that moment, right there, before we go later, when Angel said, "Bring Sharice, I like her," did y'all think in that moment that what she meant was, I don't like, I prefer Jazzy not to come, or I prefer Sharice to come? Or was she saying, "Oh, bring Sharice, I like her"? Because the "I like her" part is what kind of is like, instead of saying, "Oh, you should bring Sharice too." The ladies are getting ready to go to Nevis. I said, I'm tired of Ashley lying in our faces. You know what? She chasing Stacy down, saying she's a lie. She purports herself to be a beacon of truth. Everybody needs to tell the truth. Why is she here in her closet acting like she has a stylist? We see you. And that's why I get offended with Ashley. I see you, sis. I know you don't have. Okay. Anyway, Angel's packing. She says she's gonna miss her babies and her man, but she's ready to go. And I think this is like her first organized, maybe girls trip. It's 4 a.m. The ladies are arriving at the airport. We see Wendy hug Angel. Kay says, Angel, is this your first girls trip? She says, officially post mommy. Kay said, okay, we got to turn this ish up. So Jazzy arrives and says, I was given a late invite, but I'm glad to be here. In her confessional, old Jizzy says, Jazzy is here for the moment. Jazzy is here for the moment. We know what moment, so her and Kay can get into it. Jazzy is here for the moment. Jazzy is a fun girl. There's no reason for me not to invite her. And Jazzy has been through a lot when it comes to Mr. Darius. We had to go through baby mama drama, but she made it, so we must celebrate. Like I said, Giselle is knowing that she's producing moments because there's going to be a problem with these two. So all the ladies are getting there, walking to the plane. Why does Ashley look like Grand Dame Jr.? Y'all, that denim outfit with that blonde. I said, I briefly for a second was like, Karen, but then I was like, Karen is not filming with it. What are you talking about, child? I feel like she looked like Karen a little bit. So I said, what is this, honey? Anyway, the ladies are clearly in first class, and why they show Jazzy sitting in the back. She said, she said she was okay because at the end of the day, the champagne tastes the same in the back. Now I'm wondering because when I saw Jazzy's interview with Carlos King last year, her family, she comes from money. Her family, I think, had a vineyard or wineries or something like that. She comes from money. So I wonder, was it a case of it was such a last minute invite that there was no more in first class? So she had to sit economy because I can't see her not upgrading herself. I don't know. The ladies arrive and the first class crew get off the plane, get on the van to take them to the resort. It's raining. They had to wait for Jazzy because she was on economy. In her confessional, Europe cities, I mean, Kiarna, I'm sorry, says, International Jazzy, where are you? Did they put you in the back of the plane? Jazzy finally gets off wearing eye patches. It was like a little over 20 minutes they had to wait for her to get off. Stacy said, why does she have on eye patches? Shouldn't we do that when we get to the resort? The ladies arrived to immigration and customs. Giselle popped some more bubbly. They got some food. They have snacks, towels, all of that. So Ashley asked anybody if they have any goals that they wanted to achieve on this trip. Angel says, I do. I want everybody to get to know me and I get to know them on a different level. In her confessional, Stacy said, which I thought this was interesting, Stacy said she reached out to Angel to give her a warm welcome because she didn't get one. And I said, now, does she mean she didn't get one from majority of the girls? Because didn't Karen take her to Tally Ho? They talked about that last week. I mean, last season. Anyway, Stacy says she got a lukewarm reception from Ashley. I said, oh. So Ashley says, look, Angel, we acknowledge this is your first girls trip. Without the kids, we're here for you if you need any support. Jazzy says, but I'm here for you to lean into, if you want to lean into fun. So they all laugh. Giselle said, look, I told y'all to bring y'all slutty costumes because we're having a bachelorette party for Jazzy. And if you notice, she had on these sunglasses and it said bride on the side. The ladies are being told. Next thing you know, one of the ladies from immigration, works there at the immigration office, says there's a problem with Angel's luggage because she has camouflage on her black and camouflage Prada backpack. It said stated clearly It is illegal for anyone wearing camouflage, including children. So then Angel's holding up the paper. Girl, even Ashley in the confessional said it was clear. Girl, what? Tia has a suitcase that doesn't have a lot in it, so she puts Angel's backpack in there. They were saying it's empty. She was like, "No, it's not empty." And I think if she had it semi-empty. So if she bought some stuff, she can put it in there. I said, "What is going on with Angel? Angel, you ain't reading directions. You forgetting cameras are there, but we'll get into that later. Angel, do you have a little lying problem, or do you maybe mommy brain is still in effect? That is a real thing. After you have kids, sometimes those hormones don't adjust, haven't settled back in yet. Child, honestly, sometimes I feel like they'll never settle back in. But and you forgetting stuff because you seem to be forgetting some stuff. So they're eating food that looks like a ball. Stacey said, I don't typically eat balls. Giselle said, you a lie. You a lie. Wendy said, do you suck balls? So of course Stacey said, oh, I don't know that I've had that encounter. No, well, she says, I'm bald. What do you mean? And Wendy was like, Zick. So of course Stacey's all, I don't know that I've had that encounter yet. Giselle said, is that why you got divorced? So in her confessional, Tia said, I hope I don't strike them as a ball sucker. But the thing is, I'm surprisingly layered. I deserve the right to suck a ball or two. I said, I know that's right. Get tea bag, honey. Stacey said, am I supposed to be doing that? Giselle said, you might as well. You down there. In her confessional, Stacey says, Wendy, how dare you talk to me about balls? You're an academic. The ladies go to their yacht to get to Nevis. So as they're walking out, Kay said, my blood sugar is low. Giselle said, all right, ladies, pick your blood sugar up. They get to the yacht and Giselle wants more drinks. And some of the ladies were like, do we got some water? Like, child, do we got any water? So Ashley is opening up the champagne, and says, we know that there are some people on this trip that have issues with each other, but it's nice we can all celebrate and enjoy. Jazzy said it's a celebration. Y'all are sending me off right. And it's what I like my girls to do. It's also Wendy's birthday. It's actually the day after her birthday. They showed the flashbacks from last year when they were on vacation, when Mia had planned it. And when he was turning 40, I thought it was so funny when Stacy says, how's your first day being 40? And Wendy was like, rough. Wig was twisted and she was eating bacon. So Giselle said, Giselle's like, they're cheering. Jazzy says, we got a couple of new beautiful women and we want to show everybody a good time. I love how Jazzy is just inserting like she's a housewife. She like, clearly she wants to be right. And she is making herself part of the group. So it's not awkward. Jazzy says, we got a couple of new beautiful women and we want to show everybody a good time. Giselle said, that may or not have wanted you to come. Jazzy said, yeah, I heard that. The ladies are like, who said that? Who said that? Angel said, who didn't want you to come? Me? Now, why would she automatically think that Giselle was talking about her? Why couldn't it have been Tia? I'm just saying, because you don't know what conversations Tia might have had with Giselle. So Giselle said, I'll just speak on this. After Preakness, I had lunch with Jazzy and they caught up. They show a flashback to them and they're cheersing, to being a bride and all that. Giselle says, and Jazzy is my soror. And then she looks at Wendy. Oh, Wendy's another soror. So, they're like, oh, 3 sorors. Kay says, okay, we're acknowledging. We're acknowledging it. Giselle said, she asked if Jazzy was able to come because some of the girls, and she said, because some of the girls, Angel, didn't want her to. Giselle said, Angel, you said bring Sharice instead. And see, that's not exactly what Angel said. She said, bring Sharice. I like her. Giselle back to making stuff up. But she said it in the spirit of what she thought Angel meant, right? So Jazzy said, Sharice like that? Angel said, she and I have mutual friends. I've known her for a while. She and I have mutual friends. They do show a flashback to Ashley's full bloom, second bloom party where they said that they recognize each other, they have friends in common. Angel said, I'm gonna be honest, I do not remember saying do not bring Jazzy, but if I did, Tia said, if you did, Giselle didn't listen anyway. She here. I added that last part. Jazzy said, there was it, what was it? Was there like a certain energy that you didn't want that I had? Like, what was it? What made you say that? Angel said, honestly, I don't remember saying don't bring Jazzy. Again, I have to give Angel a little piece on this. She didn't say that, but it did feel like that was the intent. But that's not what, if we're being fair, that's not what she said. So, wait. Yeah. So again, I think Angel did say it in that spirit, but that's not what she said. So Giselle said, "Look, we need to get to the bottom of what's going on." So Kay says, "Look, I ain't phony and fake, with me and Jazzy." And Jazzy says, "Well, if you ain't phony and fake, say what you said about Wendy." So the producer asked Jazzy in the confessional, what did Kay say about Wendy? She don't say anything. So Wendy said, wait a minute, wait, hold up, hold up. Was it recently or a while ago? Jazzy said like 6+ months ago. And I was with Wendy when she said, oh, in her confession, Wendy said, now it's very clear the whole time Kiana was just deflecting. You're the bad friend if you're talking about me. I haven't talked behind your back to any of these women. And I said, now that's a good point because again, Kay has approached Wendy this season on some, I thought we were better than that. I thought you were my good friend. You're not showing me signs of being a good friend. But if you've then dog walked this lady with your mouth to Jazzy, and see, it's one thing. Here's the thing. If Kay and Wendy had an interaction and it got on Wendy and it got on Kay's nerves, and Kay was talking to Jazzy and was like, try that daggone Wendy got on my nerves saying blah, 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 blah. And then moving on. I don't see that as necessarily talking about. But like but talking about like continuing, she get on my nerves, she this, she that, that's talking about, right? So if Kiana did in fact do that, how you coming off to Wendy with some energy, right? But anyway, so that was good thoughts. I mean, that was a good point. So Giselle said, okay, but in transparency, Kay and Wendy, y'all were in a good space, right? Wendy said, yeah, I'm confused, but I'm the fake and phony one. So Jazzy said, I didn't say she called you fake and phony. And I said, see, Jazzy, because you're a friend, I guess she's a friend. You weren't there to see the energy that Kay was bringing to Wendy. So that's why Wendy's saying that. So Wendy said, my thing is, Kay cut Wendy straight out. Jazzy, you full of ish. So they start going back and forth. Tia said, wait, somebody need to fill in the blank. I don't know what's going on. Giselle said, I would like Wendy to say her last piece and then we're done. Wendy said, I just want to say, based on the timeline, she said, I just want to say, Kay, based on the timeline that Jazzy has given, we had no issues. Kay said, and we didn't. Wendy said, if I hear that you talked about me, I would be very hurt. Kay said, you should be. I said, girl, what is wrong? Wendy has a very valid point. You've been coming at me since we've been filming. Let's be clear. I'm not a good friend. I'm not this. I'm not that. I find out during this time when you claim that we were friends, I'm hearing you talking about me. So I'm saying that to you, like based on this timeline, I would be upset. You should be. In her confessional, Wendy said what hurts her the most is instead of Kay bringing up the issue directly to her, like a friend would, she told everybody else in the group, your true colors are showing. At the table, Kay says, you know what? When you take somebody and try to teach them a thing, Wendy said, you talking about her? And points to Jazzy. I guess she was trying to say she was taking Jazzy under her wing and trying to teach her a thing about being a housewife. That's what I took from it. Kay said, she's not there. She's not there. Jazzy said, Hose is mad, but I'm here. Hose is mad, but I'm here. Kay said, who's mad? Wasn't you the side chick? Here we go. Stacy's like, no. Jazzy said, never been the side chick, always been the fiance, something you'll never be. Tia hollers, what did she say? In her confessional, she said, Tia said, I don't know what language they're speaking. So Giselle tells them, look, Let's take a timeout. Let's take a timeout. She says to Angel, "You good with Jazzy?" Angel says yes. Wendy said, "Can I say something?" Giselle said, "No, is it important?" Wendy said, "Just wait. We noticed when Jazzy came into Preakness, now she talking to Angel now. We noticed when Jazzy came into Preakness, you started talking about how your husband started for 10 years." So Kiana kind of laughs. And basically, Kiana and Angel are like, here she goes. She trying to find an issue, with something. Angel said, if there was a commitment to misunderstand me. Wendy said, no, it's not, because I'm asking you. I want to understand. That's why I brought it to you. So, because Wendy said we felt like it was like it seemed like a dig for you to say he started for 10 years. So Angel says, she asked me about my husband. Of course, they produced the flashback of Angel asking Jazzy about her man. Angel said, I explained to her that he's a 10-year starter. Tia said, I still don't know what that means, but my husband said it's a good thing. Angel said the reason that timing was the way it was because she walked into the room. Either I noted that wrong, I kind of misunderstood that what Angel was saying. I frequently am misunderstanding Angel lately. Anyway, so Wendy said, "Did you know about Jazz before she walked in the room?" Angel said, "I knew she was a wag, but it doesn't go beyond that." In the confessional, the producer says, "Jazzy, is she the type of wag you would consider? Is she the wag of someone you consider to be a bench warmer?" Angel cracks up and says, "There are absolutely differing degrees of NFL players, but every player makes a difference on their team." Stacy said, I have to say this, Angel, do you have it in your heart to have relationships with other people that may not enjoy Kay? I like the way she said that. Angel, do you have it in your heart to have relationships with other people that may not enjoy Kay? I Jazzy says something, child, Kay and Angel. I mean, Kay and Jazzy go back and forth. Angel said, look, yes, I have room in my heart to get to know you guys, and especially her. And then she hugs Kay. She said, but I especially care for Kay. Giselle said, and that's the thing. We don't want to feel like you're just here for Kay. Kay says, well, maybe y'all should be more fun. Giselle said, look, we have several days to have fun. Let's go have fun on the boat. All the ladies go upstairs except for Kay and Angel. Kay says she's got to cool off. In her confessional, she says once she reaches her limit of nonsense, she has to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 herself before she reemerges. I said, girl, you know what? One thing I'll say about these housewives that we give them credit for, but when you really think about it, like I want to give them even more credit. These ladies know what their job is. Potomac lately, because before there wasn't a moving on, right? But they know they have conflict and resolve. They can say your breath stink, your booty hole brown. I don't like, I don't like you. But then they could be laughing and joking. And I think Kay needs to understand that. Like I didn't quite get why she was so upset at that table. And maybe we missed some things that weren't shown, right? Maybe the producers left something out to make Kay look a certain way. We don't know because we know that does happen. But she just seems so like turned for no reason. So all the ladies are dancing, having a good old time, except for Kay and Angel. And I said, Angel sitting down there, new, saying you're open to getting to know people. But I get it. That's your friend. And see, that's the thing. It's like now your friend is holding you back down here. You already have a relationship with these other ladies, except for Tia, because she's new. But majority of the ladies you have a relationship with. And now the ladies I already feel like the ladies misunderstand me. Now I'm sitting down here while they're all having fun. Upstairs, Stacy still can't twerk. I said, baby girl. So Kay and Angel eventually go upstairs. A boat goes by with some men on it. Giselle says, we at the Four Seasons. Somebody said, we don't know who's on that boat. They get there to the Four Seasons. Wendy says it looks like White Lotus. Remember Gertie said that in Miami. Stacy's excited to be visiting Nevis. She said her and Bella stayed at that exact same resort. So the ladies are telling Giselle it's beautiful. So Giselle, Tia, and Ashley are in a golf cart. And Giselle says, I want to talk about that picture. And Ashley's kind of like, oh, yeah, like the picture. In her confessional, she says, I'm not on social media much, but I saw a picture of Tia and Angel. I saw Tia, recognized Tia, but I didn't know who the other lady was. And I was like, who is this? I need to find out who this is. Now, I'm going to be clear. I have said, and I mean this from the bottom of my toes, they are all pretty. Angel, and Angel is a beautiful woman. Mm-mm. That picture isn't how she looks in real life. And hey, there are a lot of people who filter, right? And then look completely different. Like, completely. There were shades of Angel in that picture. But also, why is this a thing? Who cares? Anyway, so they have food laid out for the ladies. Ashley and Giselle are in a villa together. There's a nanny's quarters, and because she loves the British nanny, she put Tia there. Tia said the all pair suite. In her confessional, Wendy said this is Giselle coded, putting Tia in the nanny like part. Are we Nanny McPhee? What are we doing here? There's another villa. Wendy's gonna be in the upstairs, and then Stacy and Jazzy are gonna be with her. So they're really excited. Go back and look at the look on Angel's face when Stacy, Jazzy, and Wendy were like hugging and yelling and jumping around. Go back and peep the look on her face. And then of course Kay and Angel are in a villa together. So Kay's mood is so just down, and I feel like it's affecting Angel because I think she feels like she has to match Kay's energy. Tia said, I'm kind of by myself. Angel said, that might be the best possible situation. So all the ladies had these pretty pink robes with their names embroidered on them and little pink makeup bags with their initials on them and a note. Except Stacy, she ain't got a name, an embroidery, and she got a blank card. Wendy's note says, Wendy, thank you for sharing your birthday week with us. Hopefully, Nevis will provide great birthday memories. Ashley's card says, Ashley, traveling the world with you has truly been a special gift. Kay says, welcome to Nevis. Let's tear it up, make it do what it do, and leave nothing on the table. Love you. Angel says, welcome to Nevis. Even though I know you're missing your babies, let this be a time when you can refresh and renew. Tia's note says, welcome to Nevis. I hope you enjoy it and have fun with these crazy, strong, interesting group of ladies. Jazzy said, as the bride prepares for her big day, let's turn Nevis upside down. And Stacy's card is empty. I said, now this, Wendy cracks up. Stacy says, where's my message? And then we find out Stacy's robe is a large. Stacy said, well, I think Giselle's made it very clear how she feels about me. In her confessional, Giselle said, Stacy and I are still at a quandary. I'm unsure of who she is or what she is. So I just couldn't see within me to put her name on her robe when I don't know who this hoe is. Stacy says, I'm thinking about Giselle preparing for this trip and getting everyone's name embroidered on their beautiful pink robes. It takes a lot to not think of me, doesn't it? I see you, Giselle. In her confessional, Wendy says, I've been on the receiving end of Giselle's darkness before, so I feel for Stacy. But it ain't me, so I'm okay. Here's my thing. Mia was a certified, we caught Mia in lies. And there was a point where Giselle sat in her confessional and said, we all know Mia lies. We love it, and laughed. Now Stacy's an issue for lying. When you and Mia became friends and you said, me, that Mia is a liar. You said in your confessional this year, you like lies and foolishness. I don't have to make up stuff no more. You didn't even have to tell us that for us to know that you do make up stuff. What is it about Stacy that is causing Stacy to get this type of treatment? And let's believe I'm not clutching my pearls. I'm not up in arms. I'm just wondering, what is it about Stacy that's causing this level of we're at a quandary. I don't know who you are. You know what I mean? I'm just wondering. So Wendy says to her roommates, I feel like there's two facets in this group. There's Giselle, Ashley, Wendy, Stacy, Jazzy, and then there's Angel and Kay. Stacy agrees. Mind you, we're now in Angel and Kay's villa. Angel says, when she said this, y'all, I said, Angel says, it was rude of Wendy to not say anything to her at the airport. I said, does she know there's a camera? They show a flashback of Angel coming down the escalator with Kay, basically saying, like, Wendy doesn't have class. Who doesn't greet someone they've known? Girl, this is giving. I'm trying to find an issue with Wendy to validate me going along with Kay and her feeling about Wendy. Because this can't be it. This really can't be. So Angel says, in her confessional, she says, it was like I was a see-through sheet. They didn't see me. They didn't feel me. They didn't greet me. We literally see Giselle hug her, Wendy hug her, and Ashley hug her. She said, I don't know about them, but that's not the way in which I would conduct myself towards a new person in the group. Angel, you look insane. Like, does she know? Like, you forgot that Wendy, like, at this point, you want an issue to validate you feeling a type of way about Wendy because your friend does. And you keep having energy for Wendy, but not for Giselle. And that's because you know that Giselle is the girl that the network, like Kaden already hipped you. You need to be cool with Giselle. Has to be. Because if Angel is this person that she has said she's been in these confessionals, the way later on comes for her about her picture, and the way Giselle told Jazzy, Angel ain't want you to come, when that's not exactly what Angel said. And Angel just letting it slide, but you got smoke for Wendy. Yeah, Kiana then hipped you that you got to be cool with Giselle. And it's kind of like, I don't, it's kind of hard to respect it only because, not saying you got to come for Giselle's neck, but give her the same smoke you're giving Wendy. Even at Kiana's, when Wendy said the energy is different, Giselle said facts. And then Giselle said, I agree with Wendy. But, Kay tells Angel at this point, they're just going to have a good time. So the ladies start coming down for dinner. Well, Giselle and Ashley are in the kitchen looking for Tia. Tia's on the FaceTime with her kids. Her son said, look, I want to be adopted out of the family. I hate this family, bro. Everybody made him mad. Tia said he's the most needy out of her children, and he's the only boy in the house. So they're making him clean up, and it was his birthday. Nobody else cleaned except for him. So she said, don't get adopted out before I leave because I'll miss you. So Tia says her husband says the kids are soft because he grew up on the south side of Chicago. She said, I don't know how hard he wants them to be. They're growing up in the suburbs. The ladies walk out to their beautiful dinner table setup. I love that. I want to do one back where I live. I like want to go to a beautiful dinner and set up like that. Like, I love the way that looks like outside. So Ashley goes to the bathroom and Jazzy goes with her. Stacy says, Kay, we don't talk. But I'm only asking because I don't know, but are you and Greg back together? Kay said, yeah. Stacy said, that's awesome. Giselle said, I didn't know y'all wasn't talking. Kay said, well, I think Stacy and I are in a cordial space. We did have some chit chat. Stacy said, did we have chit chat? Because you slept for both flights. Kay said, yeah, but then I woke up and asked you for gum and you asked me about Angel. Stacy says, you're absolutely right. Angel says, so what were you concerned with? Okay. Stacy said, I asked if you were okay and how you were getting acclimated to the group. Angel said, I'm doing really well. And the best way to get to know me, just to have a conversation with me. I get what Angel's saying. Yes, you have to have a conversation with her, but I also get what Stacy's saying. If I'm sitting next to somebody on a plane and know that they just brought their friend and I'm like, how's she doing? Is she okay? I can see that being regular conversation. So Stacy said it was very lighthearted. I was just asking if you were good. Wendy said you were just checking in. Kay said, I thought you were being sincere. That's why I said we had a chit chat, but you said we didn't talk, but we did. I was like, oh my gosh. In her confessional, Angel said, I think it's a mixed bag of support from the ladies. I will say that one or two reached out to get to know me, but as far as really wanting to get to know me, I don't feel that energy from them. So Angel is at the table. Angel says, I'm just not the most talkative person when I don't know people, but I'm getting around to talking, if that makes sense. Tia said, I feel like I rarely see you two talking, meaning her, Wendy and Angel. Giselle said they went to school together. People keep saying that, but again, there was a 3-year difference. Angel was a freshman. Wendy was a senior. Wendy was friends with Angel's roommate. If they didn't hang out, knowing each other and knowing of somebody, two different things. So Tia said, even when I've seen you guys in passing, you barely pass a couple of words, or am I making it up? Angel said no. Stacy said the whole thing was pretty uncomfortable the last time we were all at Kay's house. So Angel says, well, I felt attacked and she felt attacked. Stacy was like, well, wait, how you feel attacked? Angel said, I felt like the question, which was about her energy being off, was unnecessary. Okay. Again, Wendy wasn't the only one, um, that said that. Wendy said, I don't think that you can use the verbiage to say I attacked you when I didn't attack you. I asked a simple question. I just consistently feel as though when it comes to I feel as when it comes to me, you use these certain terms to weaponize anything I do or say. And it seems like a concerted effort to try to villainize me. Again, that's my concern. Jazzy and Ashley come back from the bathroom. Jazzy said they're arguing. I said, Ashley loves to leave in the middle of something and come back like she's been there the whole time. So Wendy said, if I could be very honest, Angel, I don't think it was just Stacy that said your energy was off today. Maybe you don't know it, but it just doesn't seem like you're excited about us. So Giselle's like, are you excited to be around the group? So Angel said, I am. Here's my vulnerability. I have a hard time being the person who reaches out to someone. When they're new for me, it's hard. Giselle said, but can we talk about your social media? I said, no. Okay. Because I'm confused. She brings up the picture of Tia and Angel. She said, look, I see a picture of Tia and another woman. I don't know this woman. It was her and another girl. She said, Angel, I didn't even know that you were in the picture. Wendy's laughing. Stacy's laughing. Jazzy's laughing. Tia is kind of a little bit, and Ashley's looking like, because Ashley knows the play. She already knows Giselle's bringing it up. So Giselle said, so somebody says, Giselle, no. Giselle said, no, I'm dead. Like, I'm for real. I didn't know it was her. Again, there were shades of Angel attached to the picture. Angel says, Ashley said, I saw it today and was like, who is that? Angel said, it's me. It's a picture I took a little while ago. Tia said she had a baby 19 months ago. Angel said, like I said, the picture is not filtered. I would have said, well, is it Facetune then? Giselle said, it's not filtered. Babe, that's not you. I said, again, my note says, now I'm going to be honest. I think Angel is a beautiful woman. I truly believe she's beautiful. The picture was an animated version of her. Giselle said, I'm down for filters. Wendy is the queen of filters. And Wendy points to herself like, yep. Giselle said, I saw your page. None of those pictures look like this woman here. I said, child. I feel like Robin, the way Robin was laughing when Katie said to Ashley, I'm sorry if I called you dumb. Maybe I meant you were stupid. And Robin was laughing nervously. That's how I felt. In her confessional, Angel says, I would not edit a picture to look completely unlike myself. That's taking it to the next level. And there's some ladies at the table who are laughing right along with her, who are so insecure about their appearance that they had to run to the operating table to make themselves look like a permanent Instagram filter. I said, now hold on. Because that's a lot. That's a lot. We know she's talking about Wendy. Again, where's your smoke for Giselle? You have none. She brought this whole thing up. Ashley was in on it too. I mean, Ashley said the picture don't look like you, and you don't have none of that energy. I said, okay. And it wasn't a read. So what? She got work done. A lot of them at that table have had work done. Baby. I said, you tweak those pictures. That's not a bad thing, but direct your heat to the person who's bringing it to you. In her confessional, Stacey said, it happens to the best of us. We pick up our phones and we start editing. And I just think she may have continued tweak here, tweak there. And before you know it, you're all tweaked out and you're a different person. But she looked amazing. You got to give it to her. Giselle says, looking at you and looking at that picture, they don't look alike. So Giselle's still going with it, right? Kay says, you know what? Ashley said, it does not quite look like you. Stacey said, who does it look like? Kay said, that's what I'm trying to figure out. So Ashley says, a stunt double, Angel stunt double. I said, Kay said, quite a few people at this table got a few pictures that don't look like y'all. In her confessional, Kay says, what are we even talking about here? The photo definitely resembles Angel. Notice she says, resembles Angel. She said, it's her same face. It's the Angel I know. I'm trying to figure out where this drastic change of imagery that she's talking about is. Because if that's the case, we all look a little different. Not me though. I actually look better in person. Angel says this isn't the attack me show. Wendy turns to Stacy and says, "You understand why I was irritated that she got mad at me because I questioned her tone, but look at what they're doing." And I'm with Wendy. So Kay says, "Say it, Wendy." Wendy said, "Your energy, even with all that you're doing with all this." And Wendy starts moving her neck. And she says, "Your energy to me is so different. I asked you a question at Kay's house and it led to you attacking me. I kept on, and you kept on going at the Preakness." Angel says, "So did you." I said, "See, I think that's what really would have pissed me off, which would have made me want to come for her neck. Girl, these people are playing with you in your face. And you got energy for me. They're playing with you in your face about your face in your photos. But you only got smoke for me." Okay. Wendy said, "What you're doing right now continues to prove my point. Giselle is telling you that the person that you purport yourself to be in person is not how you are on social media, and your demeanor is completely different with her than me." Angel said, "Okay, I have a right to have a different demeanor." Wendy said, "You're right, and I agree. But it also confirms what Wendy is saying." Wendy said, "But I want you to know it has now been peeped that you come at me a certain way." Angel said, "Okay." I said, "See, but why?" To me, Angel sounds stupid because she can't articulate why. Why is your energy different for Wendy? You've now admitted it. Why is your energy different? Because you're going off the strength of your friend. Y'all are grown. And truth be told, you coming, Kiana ain't all the way established in this group. And now you coming in this group. Kiana is not going to save you to keep you in this group. That wouldn't be the one. But you know that. That's why you don't have that same energy for Giselle that you have for Wendy. So Wendy said, when we were at Kiana's house, and Kiana said, "Do you even like that lady?" Stacy said she sure did. Wendy said that exposed both of y'all. Angel said, "What did it expose?" Giselle said that y'all have had conversations about Wendy, probably about all of us. Angel, her tone is different now because Giselle said it. She did tell me something about you because she had a problem. I mean, did she tell me something about you because she had a problem? She did. Wendy said, "I think it's clear, even with Jazzy, she's been talking about me for a while now." Kay says, "It's always semantics." I said, I'm starting to believe, Kay, I know you know words. Because semantics, you talking about Wendy 6 months prior has nothing to do with semantics. Okay. All right. Giselle said, "Wendy, you good?" Wendy said, "I'm always good." Tia said, "As long as we can stay open to moving forward." So Angel's demeanor with Wendy, again, is off the strength of Kiana. That's my notes say Angel's demeanor with Wendy is off the strength of Kiana, and she looks stupid to me. That's what I said. Wendy said, "Giselle, I thought you did such a good job giving everybody customized robes, and we get to Stacy's room, and her robe did not have her name on her robe or her bag." Stacy said, "I thought it was odd that my card was empty." Giselle said, "You actually weren't supposed to get a card because I'm confused as to who you are." Stacy said, "You don't know my name?" Giselle said, "I know your name, but it was actually more of a symbolic from the person that I met last year and the person that's been around this year. But I've been confused, Stacy. It's been different with you and me." Stacy said, "Yeah, I think it has been different. It's beyond me that you hold this standard for me that I have to show up, show who I am, and be held accountable. And you guys are always talking about my relationship. Why don't we talk about yours, Giselle? You got a whole man. His name is Sean, and he played in the NFL." Jazzy said, "Come on, Wag." And they all laugh. They're going back and forth, but yet they all laugh. Stacy pulls up the picture on her phone, shows the picture of Giselle and the guy out, and says, "Stop playing. Stop playing." Stacy said his name is Steven. What she say? Sprague, Sprouse, and he played in the NFL. Giselle said, "That's not a boyfriend. That's a date." And I get what Giselle's saying. Yeah, I can go out on a date. Stacy said, "That's not what the streets are saying, Giselle." Giselle said, "Well, what they saying? What Stacy, what they saying?" Jazzy said, "Ashley, have you met him?" And Ashley's like, "Oh, the water's beautiful. It's great." So she said, "Okay, look. So the night they met each other initially was at a birthday party. He came very correct to her." Jazzy said, "See, this is what we need, honey." Ashley said he was wearing a nice little Fendi sweater. Wendy said, "You love a man with designer." So Giselle starts laughing. It is good to see them getting along. Ashley said he's very intellectual. They went out on a couple of dates. Wendy said, "Are y'all still dating?" Giselle said, "Yeah, he's still around." In her confessional, Giselle said, "If I'm around anybody, these girls automatically assume he's my boyfriend, he's gonna be my fiance, and then he's gonna be my husband. That is not how life works." In her confessional, Ashley said, "I think that before Stacey goes digging into Giselle's business, she should come clean about what she's been doing in her time, right? Think about that, hoe." And then she goes, "Oh, I'm just kidding." For a person who lied and protected a predator for years, you got your nerve, and I'm gonna keep saying it. Where was that? Oh, Ashley says, "How many of us have been?" Now, I will say this was a good intro. This was a good way to bring up the dime she get ready to drop, and Wendy peeped it. Ashley said, "How many of us here have dated an NFL player? I mean, have went out on at least one date with an NFL player?" So Giselle's pretty much like everybody at this table. Then she says, "Well, I can't speak for you, maybe not you." And they start to Wendy, and they start laughing. So Jazzy says, "Kay, you not raising your hand?" Because remember, back in Lake Norman was it Lake Norman that they went to last year or somewhere when it came out that Jazzy had, I mean, that's Kay had dated a professional athlete before. So as Jazzy is saying, "Kay, you're not raising your hand," Stacey is looking in the mirror. Ashley says, "Stacey, you're not raising your hand." Stacey said, "I'm checking my wet and wavy. I'm not listening." Ashley says, "It's convenient." Giselle says, "Very convenient." Wendy said, "They about to drop a dime on your ass." Giselle said, "Stacey, is there something that you want to share?" Ashley says, "My homegirl told me you reached out to her to try to get close to somebody that many of us at this table have met and know." Wendy said to Giselle, "Was it the person I just said?" Giselle said, "No, but you met him." Ashley said he played, and she called it the Redskins, but we know that they're the Commanders now. Child, Wendy screams, and they're all cracking up. Wendy said, "You were trying to date Chris Samuels?" She screams, and they leave it on a to be continued. What did y'all think about the episode? Again, I'm going to go ahead and say that I enjoyed the episode, even though it was a lot of, "You did this, you said that. Let's introduce this topic so we can drop a dime on this person." I still enjoyed the episode. Angel really is, it's only 4 episodes in, and it just seems like she wants to have an issue with Wendy because Kiana does, but also because I feel like she's known the history of these women having issue with Wendy, and I feel like maybe she think that's the safest. I don't know, but either way, it's old and tired and through, and there are cameras following you that will disprove or back up what you say every time. What y'all think about Angel? Y'all let me know. Angel did have a tweet the other day. I'm gonna try to find it real quick. It was about the show. Let's see if it's here. Wait, I know where to go for it. I thought this was interesting. She said, "Child, where is the tweet? Here it is." Someone says, "I have so much." Wait, let me see, because I want to make sure that I read it in order. Hold on, y'all. Somebody, she says, "I have so many thoughts plus feelings about this show. I'll wait until the end of the season to spill, however." Somebody responded and said, "I enjoy the energy you bring, but the show is definitely messy and toxic. Looking from the outside in. Protect your peace and family." She is not pleased. I guess we'll see. I wonder when her first Watch What Happens Live will be and if Andy will bring up the flashbacks that so far have proved that she's kind of wrong. Y'all let me know what y'all think. I love y'all so much. Thank y'all for liking, commenting, subscribing, watching the video. Again, y'all let me know what y'all think about the episode, what y'all think about Angel. Do y'all think Kay brought the mood down? I was kind of over Kay. And if y'all are enjoying the episode, why do you think y'all are enjoying it? Love y'all so much. Talk to y'all later. See ya.